Hey, what's up, everyone? My name's Lionel. Hey, I'm your host for LT Productions. You are watching I Watch You Watch. We are covering Love and Marriage Detroit. This is season 2. I'm giving you Reunion Part 1 and Part 2. I appreciate everyone for coming to my channel. Please like this video and also subscribe to my channel. You can share this video and leave all of your comments below. Now, let's get into this reunion. Okay, so season 2 has come to an end with Detroit, and they had the reunions, and unfortunately I wasn't able to give you a video last week. Google was my enemy last week, and I couldn't get stuff done that I needed to get done, but I'm here and ready to deliver what is the end of the season. I don't know when we're going to get it back. I don't know if it's been renewed. Hopefully it does. I know a lot of people have strong opinions about Detroit. I think that we are so used to a particular way that a reality show is supposed to go. The nature of this show, you are not going to get all that toxic stuff and the height of dysfunction that you see in a lot of other shows that y'all claim that y'all sick of. But you're going to get into it. No, and I don't think that this show is for everyone. I'll just say that much. Again, I'll say this cast is a group of people who are PKs, preacher's kids, or have family that have some type of reputation, and they are not going to get into the drama that you see on any of the other shows out there. And I think it's fine, you know? So don't tell nobody to cancel something that you just don't want to watch. Just don't watch it and go watch baddies. As you do watch, but then it's so weird. Y'all are doing all of this outrage stuff that you know that you still enjoy. I enjoy this, but not that, which is cool, but at the same time, it's like, okay, I say don't cancel it. I still like it, so whatever. Anyways, let's get into this reunion. Mr. Carlos King is just really on it right away. He asked Anthony, as he's greeting everyone on stage, you know, is this the D writing section? Anthony, as he's looking over to his right, our left. And of course, Anthony said, yeah, that is, you know. And Brandon says he's always got D on his mind. And Anthony said right quickly, no, yeah, I got Detroit on my mind. Carlos said, I got dollars on my mind. So Detroit and dollars. Carlos starts getting messy right away. Asking Latoya and Christina, well, asking Latoya about Christina. Did Christina put on for the cameras this season? Because normally it just seems like there's something fake about her. Latoya says, you know, this season there was a lot. And there was a lot that was not seen. So it's kind of like, I could say this, but it didn't air, so it's like, what's the point? That's what I was getting from Latoya. And Christina says, you know, I'm happy with what I showed you guys, da-da-da-da-da. And Colby said, of course, because it's the Christina and Brandon show. I was like, ooh, I wonder how we're going to get, let's dig into this, you know? I mean, the strongest story, I guess the biggest story, well, you can say strongest, was the Brandon and Christina separation. Him asking for a divorce, they never filed for divorce, and all that good stuff. Just so that we just, I'll wait. But anyways, and I guess the second was really Colby. Well, really the second, maybe first in group wise, is probably Christina and Kimberly. The second would be Brandon and Anthony. But anyways, we get into Brandon and Christina's package, and they show it all and all that good stuff. You know, what Christina was kind of sick and tired of with Brandon is just like every 6 months, he was going around saying, I want a divorce and all that. Like, what do you do with that? How do you deal with someone telling you every 6 months, I don't want to be with you? Brandon felt like this marriage was her marriage. He didn't feel included, nor did he have a voice. And because of his upbringing, seeing his father and mother divorce, it was just kind of disposable. He felt like marriage was disposable and optional. But I mean, Brandon, at the same time, you're the one that rushed everything with the marriage. It's like, I don't know. You're saying it was her marriage, but you proposed. Like, she didn't tell you to propose. Because how you painted the picture, and I'm not saying this in a more manipulative way, but I'm just going by what you said. You said that Christina was getting ready to leave the area that you guys were in, and that would be it would be your only chance to really, it would be your last chance of really seeing if this could really work. So you hurried up and proposed so that she would stick around, and you also hurried up and proposed so that you can hurry up and get to the sex part, because she had standards. That's what I remember hearing from last season and this season. So, do the Smiths regret getting married so quickly? Brandon says that he can't regret what God put together. Oh, he says if we dated longer, he would have. They know that they would have never gotten married. Brandon, if God put y'all together, why are y'all divorced? Why would you say that if you actually got to know each other, you wouldn't have gotten married? Are you sure that God put you guys together? Because that doesn't sound, that's not the ways of God and how he works. And it all really sounds very unequally yoked. You guys did what you wanted to do. And then when ish got real, you didn't really want to be a part of what you said God put together. And it wasn't that long after you got married that you were already thinking that. Of course, a lot of people tell you, especially if you're from the church, stay in it. You done got married. It's till death do you part. It was never God's will. Now, I'm going to get to another part of this whole thing, because some people like to not really talk about the whole thing, but this is all surrounded around God and church and all that good stuff, so I think we should go there. I was willing to divorce the children too. And of course, we went to Brick, because like, what? Because he thought that they were disposable. He went to a pastor, and a pastor gave him a green light. And right up front, whoa, the men were like, that's not good, man. That pastor was wrong, da-da-da-da-da. You don't tell nobody to get a divorce. We're taught in the church, or at least I was taught that, and Russell brought it up, if it's not because of infidelity, then you should stay with this person. Divorce is also taught that it's a sin, unless it's with infidelity. That is that. However, do you think that God cannot forgive you for that sin? Especially when you know you are out of God's will and it's not working? That's why you've had a lot of dysfunction. God has never wanted dysfunction, and that's why you need to know God's will and God's plan and not what you want. He has his desires for you. And this is for the ones that are actually acknowledging God as someone that they follow. You know, I know everyone doesn't, and I respect that. It doesn't seem like they weren't ever supposed to get together. Yes, they made beautiful children. That takes sperm and egg. God made that law. When sperm and egg connect, you're going to have children. So that part, God allowed to happen. God has a divine will, and he also has a permissive will. He'll let things happen through by you doing what you want to do. He'll allow things to happen that way. So them getting married does not mean that God was for it. Y'all can beat me over the head or what? Nah, I don't care. I don't think that pastor was wrong. And then Christina and then they explained a little bit more. No, we've had talks and counseling sessions with this pastor, and he knew what was up in that marriage, and he gave his release for them to get a divorce. If the leadership gave the release, it's fine. And God is going to forgive them according to their repentance for what they did, as far as getting a divorce and being out of the will of God. So I get where Marcel's coming from, because that's a lot of teaching. However, I'm not saying that there's no loopholes. However, there's still grace and mercy at this point, instead of just the 10 commandments that were given to us in the book of Exodus. Let's see. Carlos did talk about, because when they brought up the whole infidelity thing as being what God will allow you to be released from your marriage, Brandon was asked, was there any infidelity? He said no. Christina said it was asked the same thing, and she says, I don't believe, he said that he didn't do it, so I believe that. And then Carlos was like, well, that's not a yes or a no. We need to know. She eventually said that she doesn't believe that Brandon did cheat. However, it can be believable that he did cheat if he was mentioning consistently and constantly that he wanted a divorce. It can make you think that, but she doesn't have any receipts and all that good stuff, so she chooses to believe that Brandon did not cheat. How's the marriage as of right now? They are good. He said that he chose love, and he said he wasn't really feeling it. Guess some people told him, you got to choose your wife and choose your family. Like I'm not feeling it. But after he actually made a solid decision to choose his family and choose his wife in marriage, then the love came in. So, I just want to know, were you ever in love with her? That's just what I'm wondering. So then they talk about, okay, so this season, was Christina and Brandon putting on as far as this whole separation thing? Because it was convenient that they were separated and he was out of the house right before filming, and then poof, midway through the season, I'm back, which really only took about, 4 episodes our time. Who knows how many weeks he was gone, but it was just, it's convenient that happened. I think that some things could have been sensationalized. Kimberly did say, yeah, it could be. I mean, we are dramatic people, especially Kimberly and Christina. They said that we can't judge it up, for the camera. But Christina says, it's hurtful that you guys would think that we would fake this type of storyline. This type of drama that I had is embarrassing, and I believe that is true. Because, again, she is a PK. And even if she wasn't, you think you really wanted to display your marriage in this way, especially if you have been pretending to be this happy couple, or not happy couple, but at least this couple that's just going to weather everything. I believe that part from Christina. They get on the part of Anthony having a conversation with Christina, which LaToya was against. And why she did not want that to happen, because in some type of way they're going to twist it to make Anthony be this person that's trying to throw shots, and they'll miss that Anthony was trying to be genuine to Christina and to Brandon in this whole situation. And they got on the part of when Brandon took shots at LaToya's business, and LaToya just held his feet to the fire and made him be accountable, because he was just trying to act like he wasn't doing what he was doing, talking about the wine business. She said, I never have said something is taking a shot at you to get back at your wife. I never talk about Star Factory and all that, but you talked against my business. That's my brand. I said, go ahead, Dr. Thompson. Oh, yeah. We move on to Lakita and Bravo's package. We do see the parts where they are displaying their marriage and the things that she's worried, because she's consistently worried because of the time schedule that Bravo does have, as we've talked about. And it's also about sharing locations. When he had that conversation, this is the first time they really brought that up, and it was just like, I'm not sharing my location. What is that for? Like, what is technology going to do? He said since, being on the show, he's been able to think of things that he's never considered before, as far as what Lakita was saying. Lakita just shared, like, I lost my father and I don't know what it would be like. I don't know how she's saying she doesn't know how she would deal with having her husband also in this predicament where he doesn't come home one night. And I get it. That type of PTSD, it really lives with you, especially when you don't know that something is going to happen. And I think we take life for granted every day, and you don't know when is the last time you're going to see someone, or even just knowing your location can help in providing help if anything does happen by chance, but Bravo says that he sees it, and the things are a lot more clearer, and he's kind of felt like they had the perfect marriage but not the perfect marriage, like no, we're fine, we're good, we're good. So, but yeah, this helped open up his eyes. We move on to Kobe and Russell's package. Of course, they dealt with the whole situation of Russell continuously wanting to pump out these babies. She was ready to just have the boy, and what she said is she's ready to have this boy so that she doesn't have to deliver more children, because she's really done with all of that. She don't want to have all that. Russell realized it was very stupid, and he said it. It was just a stupid thing that I said that I shouldn't have, about, okay, well, after you have this child, come on, 6 months later, we need to try and get another child in the earth. But now Mr. Carlos did ask, what is your time expectancy of possibly trying to have another child? And he said, it's on her time. You know, whenever her body heals on her time and all that good stuff, however long it takes and however long she wants. And then Kobe said, well, it could be another 10 years. Russell still just doubled down and just said, it's on you, babe, basically. They talk about the discipline of Kendall. And just feeling like she's the bad guy and he won't step up to discipline. And if we don't do it now, it's going to get worse as time goes on. As far as she wanting to fight me because I got to be the one. No. Russell explains. Kobe tries to be like the soft parent, you know, at the same time. Obviously, they're dealing with parenting and discipline a lot different than the older generations. I could tell that much. Russell doesn't want to do anything because he loves hard and his anger. There is no middle ground with his anger, meaning he goes, I'm saying this, I don't know how high it is, but he goes ballistic when his anger comes out. So that's why he chooses not to do stuff, and then he doesn't want to bring on any trauma to his child because his emotions are out of control. And he says that, you know, he's working on that, and here's Kobe out in this whole situation. I think that was cool to bring out. Something I'm really trying not to be emotional. Just hearing y'all talk about relationship, marriage, and parenting and stuff, it affects me because of the stuff I've had to deal with. And I don't feel like going into it and all that good stuff, but it's just like, for a father to admit of his anger issues and what he avoids doing instead of just putting it out there. I mean, he's not like somebody that's gonna, but he knows that if he goes there, it's not gonna be well, so he chooses not to go there. And how many homes wouldn't have been so traumatized if daddy wasn't angry? And that's all I gotta say. So who all showed up for you, Kobe, when you delivered your child? She did say that first, I think she's totally in love with this new baby, I think. Whatever. I mean, not whatever, but that's the part that just came to my mind. But Christina, everyone congratulated her and all that good stuff except for Christina. Christina says she didn't know at first. Kimberly says that, well, I did reach out to her on the day that I knew that was supposed to be her due date, just to check, like, hey, did the baby come? Blah, 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 blah. I think she was in labor for 24 hours or whatever. But anyways, Russell ended up letting all the guys know that the child was here. So all the men knew at some point. And Kobe even posted it on Instagram. Christina says that she hasn't been on Instagram. I was like, those are like odd excuses, Christina. But I think we get to the nitty gritty of stuff, blah, 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 blah. And Kimberly's like, look, Christina does not like to be the bigger person and stuff. And LaToya was like, she had a child. It took nothing to just say, hey, congratulations. And even in you knowing that you're wrong, you don't want to say that you're sorry and admit that you're wrong in this whole situation. And then that was the end of part one, so we go on to part two. Christina says, like, because of how the breakdown of our relationship and rebuilding, it seems like there's always pressure on me to reach out. You don't really contact me, and I got to do this and when we did have interactions, they were dry. And what Kobe's issue is that Christina was being friendly on camera, then you get off camera, then you don't want anything to do with me. Kobe says, I knew Christina was not going to say congratulations. And I predicted that she would say that I did not know. Carlos asks, do you want to repair this relationship with Christina? And Kobe says, I'm not pressed. Kimberly says that there seems to be a tit for tat. You don't call, so I don't call type of situation going on. Kobe says, I do put up a wall when people hurt me or cross me or hurt me. I'm trying hard to breaking that down, but it is hard to do. Christina does say, I don't feel like you care if I reach out, so I don't do it. and it's because of how cold Kobe is. I thought that whole baby sprinkle was a way for them to kind of soften what was going on between them. I think I hear Christina out because it's like, look, I'm the type of person that I don't deal with rejection well. If I'm trying to reach out and you're just still cold, then you obviously don't want anything to do with me. So I don't want to get hurt by you. So I'm just going, okay, deuces. I can't do that. I had a situation that I was trying to mend on my part. That person wants nothing to deal with me. And I wasn't even in the wrong. It's been almost 8+ years since I've spoken to this person. Is it 8? 7+? Oh, it'll be 8 years this year in just a couple months that I have not spoken to this person. So I know what it's like I can't do this. I'm not going to sit up here. And with me, I know I wasn't even in the wrong in this situation. But anyways, I get her on that part. They go to a commercial break, I think. Christina does apologize, you know, it does hurt me also. I've been hurt in this situation. I saw Kendall, I guess a couple weeks ago or whatever, and she said hi, and she was apprehensive because it's like, do I really say hi? And she still remembers me, what's going to happen there, blah, 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 blah. Kobe lets out, this is stuff that has to deal with me and not you specifically. There's things that, as to why I am cold towards people that hurt me, it stemmed through rejection from my blood father. My stepfather is wonderful to me and treated me like his own, but I still have issues with that. Christina says, I understand. Take your time, but I just don't want this type of contention in this way, blah, 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 blah. So I guess at this moment, it's kind of cool. I don't know if they actually speak to each other now or not, but possibly they could do some things one-on-one. Chelsea, the third stooge. They run her package. Then Carlos brings her out, and she's asking, he's asking, there's no claps? Finally, Christina and Brandon, they start clapping for her. Blah, blah, blah. Chelsea, they start talking about LaToya and what Chelsea was doing behind the scenes, is saying don't support her brand and all that. Chelsea said, I don't recall that. It's like, you're making this stuff up, blah, 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 blah. I never did that. But if you said that you've seen that, so I apologize for that. I think you would really know that, ma'am. I do feel like you're lying about that. And how you are later on is when you finally open up about what was going on with you during the time you first had your first go at it with Anthony. They talk about when they went ring shopping for Christina. She does arise to occasion if she feels like there's 2 against 1. Kobe inserted herself, but you were having this conversation out in the open with other people. And it's just like, the way you're going, you are on 10 when you first, and LaToya stayed calm with you, and you were still, So then Kobe's like, don't you think that's a little bit too much? And then right then and there, you got defensive and just started calling her names, and then Christina left. The only thing, as far as what the package was, I don't think Kobe should have said, well, why would you come at me and I'm a mother? That's null and void. Sorry. Don't use that, Kobe. But just say, hey, you're in this situation and you're doing all this stuff, and calm down, ma'am. Kobe also says that she thinks that she displays the camera, and that's why she was doing certain things. I believe that. She says that, the first encounter with Anthony, she was triggered. She has been physically abused and emotionally abused. And it kind of just took me back for when Anthony and her were going at it. Ooh. But I don't think that Anthony was aggressive with you. However you took it. But it's just like, man, that's deep. Probably still need some help in all of that as far as your healing. So even after the fact of shooting the scene, you got to watch it and you just remembering all the stuff. So there was an unaired scene of her and Bravo, and she did mention that nobody was coming to her defense and all that. I think Christina did during the time, but it did turn into the Anthony and Chelsea type of show, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And she was saying, this is my trigger, and that's why I reacted this way. And Bravo, I love Bravo because he acknowledged what she was going through and all that good stuff. So he's a good man. Anthony apologizes for his part in this whole situation. Chelsea did not. They talk about the whole, does being called ghetto offend you? And she said, no, I'm not offended by that. I'm from Detroit, the blackest city in the United States or in the country or whatever, blah, 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 blah. So when you gotta make some noise, you gotta make some noise. As far as ghetto, they talk about the podcast. She said, oh, because she was thinking about other times. No, I wasn't ghetto there. I was just defending myself. You don't defend yourself? She said about the podcast. Oh, I don't know what you know there. But yeah, I was ghetto. So she admitted to being too much. On the finale, Kobe was like questioning Christina because I don't understand why I was doing too much when Chelsea was already doing too much. Like, you didn't stop. Christina says, look, her and Latoya had some issues that they had to get on the table. I didn't feel like the need to get involved in it. And then Brandon said, well, nobody said nothing when Kim was going at Christina. They laughed and all that good stuff. Like, why didn't y'all stop Kimberly? This was at the restaurant. I think that's the first episode. Kobe said nobody could get a word in. And also, I was intrigued. She said, tell me the tea. So she admitted, like, I wasn't stopping nothing. I needed to know exactly what was going on, especially somebody that I've been going at it, and I need some confirmations if you can. So Chelsea did accept Anthony's apology, and then also with Christina, she gives her true feelings concerning her. Christina is a real sister, especially how other people feel like that she's not a real friend. You picked me up from a pit and all that good stuff. So Mr. Carlos did graduate Chelsea for being a bird and is a peacock because she got a hat on and feathers on. All right, so Kimberly and Marcel's package. We didn't really talk about their marriage. We went straight into this whole Christina situation. And remember at the beginning of the season what the beef was, or what people were trying to concentrate on, was the Android cell phone comments. And look, I got an Android. Don't come for me because I didn't send for it. But she says it was all about the disrespect. And Christina said that she didn't remember or didn't know that was going on. And Kimberly said, no, you did know, bringing that up. Christina brings out this prop of saying lies, Latoya was asked, did you bring Kimberly on the show to go at Christina? And Latoya said, no, what I got to do that for? I'm not intimidated by anybody on this stage. And nobody's going to play with me. And everybody's like, okay, girl. Like, Christina's like, nobody's coming at you. But she just wanted to make herself clear. If y'all thought that Latoya don't have no voice, she got her voice. I ain't going to say she found her voice. She got her voice. Kimberly says, even with our talks or whatever, it feels like I'm talking on deaf ears, and that's what she could feel like when she can connect with Kobe and what she says her issues is with Christina. You don't want to hear anybody out, even when you're talking to them. I can see that, Christina. I do. It's almost like in some ways you shut down to not give your real feelings and not really hear what people got to say. That's what I'm getting. Christina says, with our friendship, you are the alpha person, and I did feel like during our friendship that I did not have a voice in our relationship. And you cater to her personality. You have these high expectations, and when it's like you do this, and then if that person doesn't match it, then you're not a good friend. Latoya says, I don't really feel that or whatever, because like she gave an example of Kimberly being this big gift giver and all that. It's just like, in some type of way, but Kimberly's like, that's not it, blah, 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 as far as what I expect. I try to think about me in friendships. When I'm cool, comfortable with this person, and I seem to give, and you just fall flat, and I honestly don't ask for much. I just don't need to be in doubt of, are we friends or not? It ain't even about me giving presents, but it's just like, if I could be this person showering you with love or whatever, and then when I need it, or at least expecting it, and you can't give it back to me, something's wrong, you know? Kimberly says, you know, that there's a trauma. She has trauma with some females, you know, and it has to deal with her mom. And what she does with her friendships is that she makes sure that everyone feels loved and all that. That's something that doesn't have to deal with you. It is something I have to work on and all that, but no. Anyways, I think Christina was the one that said, look, I think that we're both scared because we've both been hurt in this whole situation, but possibly we'll have some one-on-one time and try to rebuild the friendship. Brandon and Anthony, they close this out. About the D-writing comment, he was trying to get under Bravo's skin. He admits it. Russell's take on the whole situation is brotherhood. We're going to fight. He said he fights with his brothers all the time, but we still love each other at the end of the day. What about Anthony bragging? He said, I don't brag. I just say what I need to say. Brandon feels like he does. Bravo was feeling like that, or at least he lists all of his accomplishments a lot. And Russell said, you know what? I think at this point, especially for us as black people, or anybody really, we need to credit our own narratives, especially in how people want to spend things. So he doesn't have a problem with all of that. And I will agree with Mr. Russell on that. But that was the end of the reunion. Cool. As I said, I like the show. And again, we got professionals on here. And they're giving us enough, I believe. And it's not going into toxicity and all that good stuff. So if you don't like it, that's fine. To each their own. But again, don't be saying canceling a show that you're not even watching. Sorry. But that's all I do have. Great season. Hopefully you guys get picked up for season 3. Love and Marriage Detroit. Again, Detroit is like something I'm really connected to. I have a lot of family there and all that good stuff. But anyways, that's all I do have. Like this video, share it, get in these comments, and subscribe if you're new. Until the next one, peace.